No, so we're basically we're getting content for reels is what we're doing right now.
See, I don't even know, like, they switched from meme to reel, and now I just don't even know. Like, a reel and a meme are the same thing. The youth.
Did you say a meme and a reel are the same thing?
Yeah, because, like, usually I tell Tristan if I'm, like, watching a funny meme that it's that, and then he's like, oh, you mean a reel? And I'm like,
What memes are you watching, girl? Memes aren't videos.
I literally watch, like, Facebook mom videos, like, that think your 40-year-old mom watches, that's me. And I'm
I love it.
like,
Are you?
I know Keegan and I we just save reels and memes for each other just all the time.
I've noticed that, like, since I've gone and come back, like, when you were pregnant, like, that became, like, a really big thing that I noticed. It's like, oh, she needs the laughs.
I need the laughs. It's become one of our favorite things to do is since it started when we started the shared account. Like we would throughout the day we'd be on the same Instagram account and so
Hello, I'm Grace.
And I'm Piper,
And this is the Unveiling Podcast with Grace and Piper,
where we tackle controversial topics through holistic, biblical, and unfiltered conversation.
Let's dive into the episode.
is it when it's okay.
Yeah, it's when I muted it. Just wanted to make sure it was actually connected.
Okay.
All right, well, we're live.
We're live.
We're live. Our second time, technically.
We recorded the first time and it did not work out because my mic wasn't working
We
the whole
couldn't
time.
figure out mics, and then we found out you can't connect two mics to a computer
Which
while
is
you're
so dumb.
using
Like,
this
come on, streaming
platform.
service we're
I know.
using.
We won't call you out, but you know who you are.
You know who you are.
You know who you are.
You know who you are. It's inconvenient.
Yeah.
Hello.
Well, hi.
Sorry, it's while we're recording, it's about 9:00 and we're all
It
moms
is
of
not.
young children. Yes, it is. It's 9:00.
Oh my god, I've been
And
here for
so-
2 hours already.
We're like,
We're done.
we're a little tired.
We're tired moms.
But so you're gonna get very unfiltered conversation tonight, most likely.
Happens, though. Like,
That's what we're here for.
tired mom,
Failing.
but it is.
I was gonna say, welcome to the Unveiling Podcast.
Yes.
I'm Piper.
And I'm Grace.
And this is Morgan.
Yes! Not only is this our first YouTube video, but our first guest.
So what are we talking about today?
Today we are going to talk about the importance of sisterhood, female friendships. And we thought, who better than Morgan, because she is a very close friend of ours, basically a sister. And we love her, and we love her insights and wisdom, and so we just thought she was a great person to have. Morgan, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Morgan, and I'm a mom to 2 babies and a wife to 1 man. Best friend to 2 ladies that are here today. Basically it. That's all I do.
Those are the best things.
Exactly. All the important things.
That's right.
So how did we meet? How did we get to know each other, I guess? When did I meet Morgan and I met first?
Yeah. We met at my apartment. Keegan came over for like a game night because our husbands grew up together, and he's like, oh, because like it was just like a guys' night that Tristan was having. He's like, oh, can Piper come over? And I'm like, yeah, of course. And I was like, because I had met you before at church, and I was like, ooh, she is intimidating. She is so cool, so put together. She is out cutest clothes, and I was like, oh gosh. So she came over, and we were talking, and then she's like, can we just like cut the small talk and like get into it like legit? And then we just told life stories and cried together and had pizza and a great time.
It was wonderful. It was the best. It was the best night ever. Came home and I was like, I finally found her, the friend I've been praying for like my whole life. I was so happy. I was so happy. And yeah, I was gonna say the rest is history. We became best pals, and then a year afterwards, I think maybe it was sooner.
It was only a few months.
Was it only a few months? Okay, a few months afterwards, I grew up with. Not grew up with, but was in high school and stuff with Steven.
Yeah.
So we were close friends, and then you guys got married, and then we started like, I think I ran into you at Target or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what it was. And you were like, we should like hang out and do something. And then I actually followed up, which never happened. And I was like, yeah, let's actually do something. And so we did. And it was kind of the same situation. I kind of did what I do, and I was like, I don't want to talk about things normal people talk about. I want to talk about uncomfortable things. And you were like, yeah.
Yeah, because Steven had talked about you a ton, like even before we met. And then I had gone to your wedding when we were dating.
Yeah.
That was the night we had both talked about how like we were both ready to get married.
Aww.
And which was kind of magical because your wedding was beautiful.
It was gorgeous.
And there was this beautiful meadow and there were fireflies everywhere. Like it was a Disney movie. But there were like fireflies everywhere, and we were holding hands and watching them, and he was like, I can't wait for us to get married. And I was like, me too.
That's awesome.
And then we got engaged a few months later. But yeah, I had heard a lot about you, so I was a little intimidated because I was like, she seems cool, and I'm intimidated.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am not very cool. I don't know what these two ladies are talking about.
Don't listen to her.
I am not cool. I'm something else. I'm a million things. But we hit it off, and I just thought Grace was the coolest thing, and I was super intimidated by her as well, and Morgan, by both of these girls, which... Is that a common theme? Are women just always intimidated by each other?
I think it's hard to gauge, like, ooh, what's this person going to be like? And this is what they seem like from far away.
The only person I've ever met who's not been is my sister-in-law. I'm calling her out. Not Riley, Morgan.
Yeah.
Morgan's the only woman I've ever
Morgan
met
is
who
just like...
She doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
We're going to have to bleep that out. But she doesn't care at all.
Yeah.
Like, she just doesn't. She's like, that. Well, and I admire that so much about her. If you're listening, Morgan, I admire that a ton about you. But she was probably the first woman who showed me, I don't have to like walk around and constantly be intimidated and or thinking about how other people feel about me. What an unusual concept.
Wild.
And I decided to explore that.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, and then you came to our house for dinner, and you were just kind of like, so tell me about Grace. And I was like, get ready. And yeah, we talked, and we ended up watching like a James Dean movie that night. And it was
that was fun.
That was a lot of fun. It was a great night.
Mm.
Yeah. And then Morgan and I, we were all at the same church together.
I kind of like friendship blind dated you too.
You really did.
Yes.
And then I got volunteered for nursery, which Morgan was starting at our church, and we were both pregnant at the same time. Our kids are only 3 months apart. And so we got to connect with that. I felt like I was the only one pregnant at that time, and it was a really strange journey for me because I was very young. And so it was nice to have Morgan alongside being like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing either, but we can figure it out together. And so that added to a lonely season. And so that was super helpful. Mm-hmm. And we connected, and I remember being pregnant and just watching you like breastfeed your daughter, and I was like, this is great. Like, we're just talking about the trauma of our dads, and I'm watching you breastfeed. Like, you're half naked. I'm like, I'm so comfortable. So that's kind of how Morgan and I got to know each other.
That was great. It was so great.
And then Morgan moved away and abandoned us. No, she went to go be with family down in Clarksville. And so we had to find another way to kind of communicate. And so we started using this app. I don't know if we can use it for copyright. Say what it is.
You can say it.
Okay. we started using Marco Polo, which just kind of allows you to send video clips, to and from each other. They should honestly sponsor us. We've given them so much of our time.
I even subscribe to their little subscription thing.
What'd you say, more?
That it's the old person Snapchat. That's what my brother says, because I tried to get him on there. Why this content? We need a short period that you can only speak for that amount, and I never have to look at it again. I was like, no. That's not how it needs to be.
It needs to be, as we have done, I think I've put like a 27-minute video of me just talking.
We have had upwards of half an hour to 45 minutes of videos before.
Of just one person talking.
Just one person. Just one video. Which is great.
These things that we eat it up and we love it. And it's just been the biggest blessing to like be able to like, okay, well, it's 12 o'clock in the morning, my baby won't sleep, and I'm just gonna make a video because I'm about to lose my mind.
Mm-hmm.
People receive that and like hold you in that space. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
It's really special. And it started out as just kind of like a way to survive. I feel like we're all lonely in our own way. I was pregnant. I think I was like pregnant when we started. When we started really like Marco Poloing. Morgan, you were in Clarksville, and Grace, you were kind of just shifting into not working and just being at home like full time. We were all kind of lonely, and we just started shooting the breeze. And then it turned into this really sweet time of friendship between us three. Like we really started, I don't remember who it was, but one of us sent a video of we were just in full tears, just like in the middle of like a really hard moment, and we just decided to make a Marco Polo. And just kind of from there, it just started becoming a way more vulnerable, open space where we just kind of confided in each other of just where we were in the moment. We stopped hiding, I think, things, which is we stopped being like, oh, I'm good or whatever, because it honestly, I don't know if it's helpful or not helpful, but it doesn't give you space to like process and push away feelings and stuff, like just being able to talk to each other. And then it started just establishing like we'll call each other on the phone or we'll text each other, and when we're in person we don't small talk, we just kind of cut immediately to what's going on, because we just know what's going on in each other's lives. And so it kind of opened the door. I think all of us have a hard time being vulnerable with people and showing each other our hard bits, but it just started this season where the Lord, I think, just kind of started, at least for me, like slowly stripping away, like, I don't know, you phrased it one way, Morg, that was great, that I have a really hard time of presenting things when they're not wrapped up tidy with a bow. Like
after you've dealt with it, then you would like come up and be just like, oh, so I just went through this horribly hard season, but this is how I fixed it, and the Lord brought me through. Like, what the hell are you just telling me now? Like, I could have at least been there holding you. You know, it's sad, but
it says the kettle to the pot. No, it's good. And so at least that's one of the things that I've learned. So like in this season, I feel like we've all learned different things about friendship and how important it is to have female friendships, even though we all love our husbands. All our husbands are our best friends. We love our babies and we love our family, but having female friends is so completely important. And at least for me, one of the things that is necessary for female friendships is, I think just to sum it up in short, is honesty. Honesty has to be there. And whether that's being honest about when you're in a rough spot and allowing people to be there for you and support you and encourage you and allow yourself to cry and be comforted and to be helped. And, you know, because that's hard, especially as moms. It's hard to admit, you know, to Morgan or Grace when I'm having a hard time. Like Morgan came and spent the night and Desi was up screaming for like the 5th time. And so Morgan came in at like 5 a.m. and she was like, let me take him for a little bit. And so I went back to sleep and let my friends stay up for 2 hours and like comfort my baby. And that was really hard to admit, but I needed that. I needed that sleep. I needed that help. And then in the same way, honesty is so important because we have to be able to share with each other where they need to grow and where they have blind spots. Because I think we all have blind spots. No matter how good of a Christian you are, or how mature you are, you have blind spots. You have places where you need to grow. And so I think it's so important to be honest with one another in that way. And I feel like I've grown a lot in being able to take hard feedback. I remember Morgan gave me like some feedback on something I said, and I was very pregnant or something at the time. And I made a response video, but I was like, that's fine, you know? I thought I was coming across this way, but it's fine. And she sent a video, and she was like, she's pissed. She's pissed.
I remember I was really nervous about that conversation. One thing I've loved about our friendship is like, if you have something that you think you should present to one person, you can go to the other and be like, hey, should I bring this up to them? And it's like, yeah, totally. So Morgan had like Marco Polo me, and she was like, should we bring this up to Piper? And I was like, gently, yeah. I mean, it's not a huge deal, but it could be good for her to hear that. And then I was so anxious because she did not tell me she was going to make the video. And all I saw, I kind of skimmed it. All I heard was, oh, she's pissed. And I was like, I can't, I'm gone. I didn't watch any of the videos until Piper's like last one. I was like, oh gosh, she's crying.
Yep, that was rough. That was rough. That was hard. But it was good for me, one, because I needed to hear that and needed to grow in that way. And it also kind of opened the door to show why I was offended and why that hurt my feelings and why it affected me so bad. It was like, oh, I had this insecurity that I didn't realize I had. And I had this issue I didn't know that I had. And I had to allow you guys to see kind of rough parts of me so that you could be like, it's okay. Like, it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be mad. We can talk through it. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it was good for me.
This space, because like it's really hard for people to find friendships where they can be like truly themselves, truly speaking truth. And like I've had the hardest time. Like I've never had this in my life outside of our friendship here. And it's like, I don't know, it's like a different sort of accountability for yourself because you're processing with people and like there's this important level of like you showing up. Like you have to show up for yourself, to show up for other people, and to be able to speak your mind and like do the work with the Lord and like make the progress and like it's really been great.
Yeah, one of the questions that we had asked was like, what if I don't need friends? Like, what if I'm, introverted? What if,
I'm okay being alone.
Yeah, if I'm okay being alone, that sort of thing. I was going to ask Morgan if you had any input on that. I know you don't relate to that at all because you're a total people person and you love being about with the fools.
Yeah, definitely. I have like the hardest time, like even being rooted in this amazing godly like counsel of friendship, like I still have a hard time like being like, okay, well I have what I need. This meets my friend requirement check done. I am so introverted and like I don't know. It's really hard to like go through the motions of getting to know people and not everybody just wants to like get real with you in your house and like tell about all their traumas and stuff. Like sometimes you gotta go and like go to the mall or go out and get coffee with all your damn kids and it's a disaster and it's like this is great. But yeah, I think the most important thing is like, cause like I'm totally okay. Like in my day to day, I don't want to be around people either. I'm so done. But I think just knowing like or letting the Lord come in and redefine what friendship is to you, cause He'll like blow your mind and be like, oh wow, I really did need this, and like it'll not be overwhelming. It'll be life giving. So I think another thing like with Marco Polo that's been so helpful for me as an introvert is like just being able to talk to people like when I can, instead of like having the big like, oh my gosh, I have to like get ready, get my kids ready and like recharge my social battery that's only this big and like then step out into it with all this anxiety. But it's like just being able to like be real and be like, okay, well, my kids are screaming in the background and like attacking each other on the couch, but here I am, and I'm here for you and you're here for me. Like, I don't know, it's just being able to try to connect, I guess, like putting the effort there and like working on it with the Lord, I think is just the biggest thing. Continually asking, like, show me what you have for me in friendship, and don't let myself like hold it back, because I sure will do that,
Yeah. What do you think about, like, obviously our friendship, it was all really easy. Like, we clicked very quickly. But what about the people that you meet and it's, like, not as easy to connect with them? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh gosh, I don't. I think like I don't know. I feel like Piper is really really good at that. Like because she's grown. Like she's been part of this like amazing church and like her community group. All different types of people, and I've never been to this community group. I've met several other people like at your baby shower and stuff.
You gotta come.
You gotta come.
But I'm gonna have to sometime. But like I've seen you grown the most in like your ability to. You've always been like searching for the good in everybody. Like going to Green District, you like make best friends with the salad person. Okay. She has a spider tattoo on her knee. You guys don't have anything in common. But you are very receiving and hospitable and like Heather-like, but so I don't know. I don't think I'm the person to talk about it. I think Piper probably has wisdom on that.
By the way, Heather is her mother.
Heather is my mom. She's everybody's mom.
Yes.
Oh. Making friends with people that I would say I am the right person to ask in this, because I immediately am super interested in people and their stories and how they're different and how their brains work. And so I love getting to know that part of people. But I think if that's difficult for you, if you don't immediately click with somebody, I would say give it time, because the more you get to know somebody, the harder it is to write them off.
Mm-hmm.
It's still easy to be frustrated with them. Like I would argue it gets a lot easier to become frustrated with them, like the more you get to know them, but it's a lot harder to write them off. And so I think everybody deserves a chance. And I think there are a lot of people out there who don't have good friends, who need people. And so I think, the Holy Spirit will prompt you where it's needed, but I feel like that's definitely a form of like evangelism, is creating relationships with friends and being open to what you're not used to. And I think that's just who Jesus was, I mean, I think he opened his doors to all kinds of people that he had nothing in common with, because he loved them and he wanted them to know that they were loved. And so I think it's a good call on us to, I mean, we're taught it from little kids, like as we're young. I remember my parents teaching me, if you see someone like by themselves, like make sure you go like give them a hug, or like go like invite them to play or stuff like that. It's like that carries into adulthood. Like if we see like a fellow human who's struggling and flailing and has no community and no support, then we shouldn't just leave them there. We should reach out. We need to invite them into a space that is welcoming and Christ-like and good. But that's what I would say. If you don't feel like you have Something in common with somebody, just give them a chance. We're not meant to be best friends with everybody. That's the other thing. As Christians, I think sometimes we feel like we're failing if we don't click with somebody, and it's like, well, I get coffee with them every other week and like we text a lot, but like they're just not my type of person, but I'm really trying to be Jesus. It's like, well, you don't have to be their best friend. You don't have to do that. That's not what we're called to do. Like someone else, they've got another best friend out there somewhere. So you're loving them well, and that's what you can do, is to love them well and to serve them where you can. But we're not meant to be everything to everybody. I think
Yeah.
that's another thing that we need to remember is that, you know, we are limited humans. We have limited capacity. We are not meant to be everything to everybody. So I think when you're making friends, just remember that and remember to have boundaries with yourself and for the sake of other people, to be honest, because nobody wants a stretched out friend who only has 5 minutes every 3 months to spend with you or something, you know?
Yeah, I can testify as someone who is not as positive about people as you are. Like, biggest lesson I've learned, I'm in a neighborhood that is not my favorite, and so it was really hard, like, entering the neighborhood, and it's an area where people think they have an idea of what it's like, and it's not that great, because it's more of the poor side of town, and but even just with the community that we like entered into there, like I just was really hesitant, and I was just like, I don't think these people are my kind of people. Like, I don't think I'm gonna click with them. Like, it's just different, and I don't feel like I belong here. But then, especially when it's a neighborhood, like you're kind of forced to get to know people, and some people who I was like, I really hate this person. Like, do not like them. We will never be friends. And then like I'm a lot closer to them now, and like our kids are really close, and I had that moment the other day while I was talking with them, and I was like, we've had like a full like 180 with our friendship. Like, did not like you at first. You intimidated me like most people do when I first met them. That's just an issue of mine. Had this like outlook on you that wasn't as positive, because I don't know what it is, but I'm just very judgmental immediately, because it's kind of like I have a wall built up, and I'm like, you need to knock that wall down if we're going to be friends. But yeah, as someone who's like that, I do agree. You need to get to know people.
I think it's important to like just remember like to humble yourself when you walk into situations, and humble yourself in the sight of the Lord, and He'll lift you up higher and higher, you know. So I think just allowing the Lord to do that work, because when I am not humble and I come off as judgmental to somebody and like, we're not gonna click or whatever, it's because I think I have myself figured out. I think I know who I am. It's like, no, you don't know anything about who you are, who you're called to be. You need to humble yourself and let me lift you up. I want you to be, and maybe they're part of that, you know.
No, that's so good. That's so good. That honestly brings me to my second thing that I've learned. First was honesty. The second is humility. You will not have friends if you do not grow in humility. That's at least something that I have learned. Like, I've definitely lost friends over being such a prideful person and thinking I'm, I'm so much better. I've got it so together and I've got my stuff figured out, and they're just a mess and they just need to get with the program. And I'm positive I've lost friends like over that attitude. And yeah, you have no one is better than anybody. We're all just hot messes.
We're all sinners.
Especially if you guys are out here, you all are moms, you're a mess. You're never gonna have it together, and all the other acts.
Motherhood will humble you than literally anything.
I was gonna say, I legit think I've been less judgmental of people since becoming a mom, because I'm like,
oh yeah,
we're all figuring this out. None of us know what we're doing. Like, we're just either figuring it out on our own or leaning on the Lord for it and doing the best we can.
I've grown so much in that way too. Before I was a mom, I was like, I wouldn't parent my kids that way, or I wouldn't do that. And now I'm like, if I get a shower, I'm like, I deserve a cocktail. I feel amazing.
That's so true. I was harder to humble. Like, it took my second kid coming around to really humble me, and now it's like anybody can do anything, and I'm just like, you know what? I've been there. I understand. Yes, I've like seen it all. So, like, I don't know. The Lord really did a work on me. It was like, you will be humble now.
Oh, that's funny. What was another one of the questions that we had kind of laid out for us in the podcast?
Like questions from people?
We asked the social media if they had any
Yes.
questions.
We got some good questions.
No, we got some good ones. So that's why we want to answer them. But
the first one was, what are ways to cultivate accountability over gossip and judgment?
I would say one is surround yourself with people who are not going to gossip. That's not to say if all your friends gossip, it's like we gotta go find new friends. No, but it means you should be that friend to lovingly
shut it
down. Yes, literally, you need to be that person to be like, with love, let's not judge. I remember a friend of mine when I was younger. We were in a situation where we were in some kind of Bible study, and it was on Song of Solomon, and Song of Solomon is about love and love making, and he said the word breast at one point. And this kid in the back started just chuckling, like couldn't keep it together. And so everybody went outside for a break, and I was with these group of girls, and they were just making fun of this kid because he said like the word breast, and we were like 15 or something, so prime gossip, terrible teenage stage. And I had a sweet, sweet friend who is still just as sweet to this day. She just lovingly said, guys, let's not judge. And I was so, like, that has stuck with me. I was so, like, taken aback because she was not judgy. She was not like, how dare you, or any of that. She just lovingly, as a 15-year-old girl, was like, guys, let's not judge. And I was like, that's so special and rare to see that. And so I think you need to be that friend sometimes who says that, I think there's too much attitude in this world of, well, I just need to get it out, or I just need to vent it out, or, well, I'm just processing and this is just how I need to feel.
Yeah.
I think there's too much of that used as an excuse. And I have definitely had to grow in this way of using venting or processing or something as an excuse to be like, no, I just want to talk poorly about this person because I'm mad or because I'm hurt or something like that,
I think there's a Bible verse, and I read it recently and I really loved it, and it's actually really stuck with me. It's like, basically, gossip ends on anointed ears. And so we know the dangers of gossip. We know how that can hurt others. And also, like, just for me, when I hear someone gossiping, I'm like, that's probably not a trustworthy person, because if they're gossiping about everyone else, they're probably gossiping about me too. And so that's a person who I'm not going to share details of my life with. I'm not going to open up to. And so, there are many aspects to why gossip can be dangerous.
Right.
Like, you're not going to be seen as a trusted person. Talking about others can be, it's none of our business, to share stuff with people, especially if it was brought to us in privacy and it's like, oh, I'm just gonna share this with all my close friends, or and I feel like we've all grown a lot in that, because I feel like when we all started talking, we liked to gossip a little bit. Like, we would just talk about stuff every now and then, and it was like, oh, we just shared a lot.
There was always a limit. If anybody has ever asked me, hey, can you please not share this? I have never ever like shared it with anybody. That feels very strongly to me like that's wrong. But there's definitely a tendency to, did you see what this person did? Did you hear what she said? Like, let me tell you about this situation that's going on. Because there's what is that? What is that tendency in us as women that is like, ooh, I want to hear. What did you say?
Like, as if that's your entertainment is other people. I've definitely grown in this friendship, and like in my late 20s, like, which is sad because I should have grown when I was 15, but like I used to like be prideful about it. Like you said in the last one that we recorded, you're like, oh, that's what you said, like when we got to know you, like, oh, I'm a gossiper or whatever. And like I would be prideful about like things like that just because I was a hoe. I don't know. I guess for me, what made the switch was being in friendship and community with people who didn't tolerate that, and that wasn't like a good thing because like the community I was in before, like I had moved, it was like people would like gossip all the time, and it was like that's how you fit in the place I was in, and it's like so I used it as a tool to fit in at other people's expense, and it's like, well, that's really mean. That's not very Jesus-y. So being around people that are mature and grown up and stuff, I was like, oh well, yeah, that makes sense.
It can really take you down a bad path. Like with love and respect to them, the church that I was a part of before the one I'm in now did not steward good company. I realized it wasn't till after I left that I had really fallen into gossiping behavior. That was where it started, and it led to other things like drinking too much and making unwise decisions, and foul language and like being disrespectful to Keegan or stuff like that. And I was like, oh, like this, it can kind of, I feel like almost like
they took the come as you are a little too far.
There just wasn't accountability there. And so, but it basically, I feel like it starts out as this, almost like a white lie, but in sin terms, like the safe sin is like gossiping. Oh, this is fine. I'm just going to tell this one person about this. And it really does kind of unravel, and it starts all these bad habits, I feel like. So if take a look at your friendships, and if you're surrounding yourself with a bunch of gossipers, then with love, you need to call them out. And if they don't want to change, or not change, but if they don't want to, take a look at their behavior and want to grow with you, then those probably aren't friends that you want to be with. So if you're like, well, if I bring this up, I'll lose all my friends. Well, those probably aren't good friends if they don't want to grow as a person,
Yeah. Or even if like putting that boundary up and then like them not respecting that or having a really big issue with that, like as long as you're bringing that up kindly and not in a judgmental way, like, oh, you need to stop, like I don't know, that doesn't seem like a friend who's going to respect you in other areas either.
I think like that's a good like transition point to that one question that was like about boundaries. I wrote it down. Boundaries and friendship, what's that look like? So I think it's being completely like honest. Like that is a boundary. Like if you're not going to be honest, then like, well, why are you here? Like we were saying, like, and calling people out on their stuff. Like that's what we're called to do when we're walking in Christ and like doing the work with Him and allowing Him to use us in other people's lives. Like you were saying, like, oh, maybe I'll lose all my friends. Like, what if you change all your friends? Like, what if it's positive, And like, that's what happened for me. Like, you guys changed me because you were walking in truth and stuff. But I think, like, it's just being respectful and honest, and like the boundaries like we have, I think, kind of flow naturally. It's just respecting each other's space and privacy. Like, yeah, we're gonna be on Marco Polo and all this stuff, but we're not gonna hold each other to like, oh, you didn't watch the last 20 videos I made that were like 6 hours long. We'll do a little summary here and there. We'll be like, I don't know,
or even on days where, like, I feel like it was like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, guys, Mondays are really crazy for me, so can we not spam the Marco Polo? And it was like, yeah, no big deal.
Right.
Like, was kind of respecting those things.
And also respecting that, I feel like another thing that's important in your female friendships and ties in with boundaries is understanding where friendship does need to end, especially as married people, but even like as your own person. So that's something I have always valued friendship incredibly highly. Like in my head, like spouse level, like relationship. Like this is my ride or die. We talk about everything. We do everything together. They always want to spend time with me. I always want to spend time with them. I wanted like a new girl situation was like my dream. Like I was like, I want friends that we all live together and like this is just family. And but not to a healthy level, like a almost like codependent level of like not a great level.
On
And
a
so,
different note, though, I'm just gonna tell you guys now. Our YouTube cover is definitely gonna be new girl but our faces.
oh, that's great. That's perfect. Oh, I love that. That's actually perfect. But who is who? We'll have that discussion later.
Yeah.
We're gonna have it later. Morgan is Nick. Sorry.
I call Winston.
Like I said, I'm Schmidt. Oh
I
wow.
can be Schmidt. You can be Winston.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
No, you can do
I
that.
was
No,
thinking-
you're more Winston.
Okay. Yeah.
We have gone down a rabbit
Sorry.
trail. We're revamping. Okay.
Yes.
Oh shoot. I'm talking about
Boundaries.
boundaries. Yes. And how, friendships are wonderful. Female friendships are wonderful, as we see. But you do need to remember that they are friendships. And the Lord does put a hierarchy in our lives,
Yeah.
like in scripture, specifically when married. But like it is the Lord above all. And then if it is not the Lord and you're not, or right, after the Lord, if you're not married, it is your family. And you need to remember, I did not do a good job of that when I was dating. I would definitely choose my friends or Keegan over my family. And I wish I could go back and change that, and spend more time with my family and be a better sister and be a better daughter and those sorts of things. But then when you're married, it's your spouse. And so like everyone understands that I'm going to hop off the Marco Polo or we're going to wrap up the friendship visit when my husband comes home from work after a little bit because he's been gone all day. And so we need to spend time together. Morgan's husband travels like 4 days out of the week. So on the weekends, we know that she is not around. She's with her husband. They are hanging out together. That is not to say that you don't take time away from your spouse to hang out with friends. I think that is healthy too. There needs to be girls' nights. There needs to be guys' nights.
But I do think make sure you're with your husband probably more than your friends. Like,
I would say so.
or even as a mom, it's like obviously there are full-time moms who work, and that's
right.
That's great. Like if that's what you need to do, there's that. But other than that, if you're not spending time in your home, like that's what we're called to as women, to be homemakers and take care of the home and take care of our kids. And so husband and then children need to be prioritized for sure.
Yeah, I think that like holding each other to those boundaries is good too. Like more, you need to go hang out with your spouse, get off Marco Polo, or Piper, you need to go spend time with Keegan. Grace needs to spend time with Steven, you know what I mean?
Or even with our kids, it's like, you've been on Marco Polo a lot. Like, what are your kids doing?
Where are your kids at?
How long have they been watching Blippi and Mika?
Too long.
There's freedom to call that out.
I think on the other end, though, it's like, obviously our husbands are there to provide in a lot of ways, but they don't need to know every single detail of the things that we want to talk about, like, there are certain female things from my husband's, like, I honestly didn't want to know that, and I was like, probably should have talked to Morgan or Piper about that then. Like, I think our husbands serve a lot of areas, but then friendships are really important for different reasons too. They provide different things that we need. Like, you need a female to understand female things. Like, if I just had my husband, I'd be so lonely. Like, in that way of just like, I don't have another female who understands female stuff. And my husband would love to try. Like, it's not like he wouldn't put effort into like getting it, but he would also like not be able to relate at all. And so I think that's so important.
Satisfaction in my life too, to like have that female aspect, I guess, because like Tristan, like, I don't know, I very much process out loud and like I want to talk, and like he like that overwhelms him a lot of the time, especially if it's not even important and it's like something goofy, and it's like, okay, well, I don't know, but having like female friends to like process those things with, or like talk color palettes or something.
What were you about to say?
And it's like, oh, my husband does not care about the colors. He's actually colorblind, so
we're blind.
but on like a serious note too, like having like that godly counsel has blessed my marriage so much, because I do have other people to talk to, and like obviously like do my work with God, and then like bring it to you guys to help me kind of process that, especially since my husband is gone. He works like out of the home, like you said. He's traveling 4 days, he's in the office one day, so I see him for 2 days like every week, you know. And we have two children who need to see their dad, and that's our priority, and like pushing that, you know, during the day. So it's like we don't talk very much, but just having like people to help me like figure out what's important, especially like, I don't know, here we're gonna go on the cycle track, but sometimes during the month, like Tristan doesn't know where I'm at in my cycle. I'll get crazy right before my period, and it's like you guys can be like, what day are you on? Or
Are you luteal right now? What's happening?
calm down and talk about it in a week, and then bring it up then if it's like that, you know. I don't know, like just having the female aspect, but definitely having like the godly counsel. That's so big and blessed my marriage so much.
Going off that with godly counsel, I think something specifically for married women that's really important is, I think in this day and age there is such a tendency to like constantly talk trash about your husband or your spouse, and I think that that's so unhealthy, and that's so not beneficial to marriage, because there's a difference between saying, I'm really struggling with my spouse right now, this is what's going on and I don't know where to put this, and then just hanging out with a friend to be like, my husband's the worst because he does this and this and this and this. And I remember that's a piece of advice my mom gave me, that she said that's a rule she's always had with herself, is she never talks poorly about my dad. She said she did it once and she immediately felt gross. Like the next day she felt horrible. She's like, I have an incredible husband. He does so much for me. How dare I like complain when there are trash husbands out there being terrible husbands, you know? Because I think it is good to talk through things and to not keep things bottled up inside. That's not what I'm saying, but I think that that's been a good accountability between us three, is we all know each other's spouses. We all know the men in our lives, and so we're able to speak into that. Like, I know you're struggling right now, but here's the good things about this person.
Yeah.
You know?
Or even just, I think, catching us on if we talk too poorly about them. It's like,
Yeah.
You've been complaining. I mean, you've done that with me before. I'm just like,
I have done that. That's true.
just like, hey, I noticed you've been complaining about Stephen a lot. Here's a verse to encourage you to like uplift him as well, even though you're struggling and that's very real, because you're dealing with hurt. But also, like, that doesn't call us to be able to talk trash about our husbands.
Yeah.
And that is really important.
It's hard. Yeah.
Well, because I think even though we love our husbands, I think talking about all their flaws and the things that we really struggle with them all the time really changes our outlook on our husbands.
Absolutely.
Too. It's like you get to that point of like, should I really be married to this person? Like, I'm talking a lot of crap about them. I can't think of a single positive thing about them right now. Like, why am I here? And I know that's something that I really struggled with for a long time. And so I had to even just start doing like a gratitude journal of every day. Like, even if it was a small thing, like, I don't know, he wiped the kitchen counters for me, like, wrote it down. And then I was able to like look back on it. Or if I had a really great day with Steven, just journal why. And then when I was really pissed at him about something, go back to that page and read those things. But yeah, I know you guys have been really encouraging to me, because I do talk very negatively. That's just kind of it's a 4 thing a little bit. But
we're figuring that out. It's a new thing that we're learning, but we're like, you are a little doom and gloom sometimes.
I really am. I'm a very melancholy person. It's hard.
But that's okay.
Positive talk is not my thing. And
it evens me out, because I'm very like, ha ha! And so sometimes I need them to be like, calm down. Like, it's too much.
We're like April and what's Chris Pratt's character's name?
Andy? Oh! I'll take that. Andy's the best.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, we really are. But yeah, that's been encouraging for me, is to like, even just being called out like that one time, it's like when I've wanted to complain about Steven, just catching myself, like, is that really important to say? Like, am I seeking advice or am I just complaining about my husband? And that's been really important for me.
I really like that example that you gave of like Piper like saying something to you, like calling you out, but like delivering like a verse or something. So it's like obviously like when we're in these little spaces and these ruts, it's like you're in a hole, you're in a pit, and it's your friends don't just call you out and be like, you should probably get out of that. Like, you're being a hoe. Like, stop. And it's like, Piper does this really, really well. You do too, Grace. But since we were talking about Piper, like, she very much is like, okay, I see this and I don't think this is good. And here are the tools that I have spent time praying over. And this is what I think you need. And like, I'm going to sit here with you and we're going to get out of it. And
Yeah.
let you stay in there, like, not just like, here's the information, bye, So I think that's really important in friendships too. Like, not to be like, I'm gonna call you out and like we're gonna speak in truth and all these things, but like, okay, but you're their friend, so you guys sit there too and help them. Like, don't let it become some codependent ass mess, but like you're you're their friend. You're both being healthy and we're doing the thing and God's so it's right. I don't
Well, and I think not even just calling a friend out on something that they did that's negative, but pointing them back to like this is what Jesus calls us to be as wives and as friends, and it's a loving way of just pointing a friend back to Jesus, which is where we should be, and it's really easy to get off that trail. So yeah, as wives, just point it back to being like, let's speak highly of our husbands because they are our husbands and they love us and do well most of the time, and I have just as many flaws as a wife as my husband does as a husband, and so yeah, I think that is really important. All right, we do have one more question. The last one was, what do you think are specific barriers people are facing as they try to establish connection?
Ooh.
So what's kind of holding us back from connecting with women? Because I know for me, like...
Jealousy.
Oh, yeah. I know for me, up until I met you guys, I really hated being friends with women.
So interesting.
Like, could not do it. Still, like, growing up, one of my closest... I did have a close girlfriend, but one of my closest friends was a boy. I was always hanging around boys. That's also what I grew up with, though. Like, most of my cousins were boys, so it might have just been something I was used to. But as I got older, I was like, girls are a lot of drama. And although I was a lot of drama, I didn't want to deal with the other drama. And so hanging out with boys was just what I preferred until I got older. And then all the boys I was friends with they were friends with me because they liked me. And it was like, well, that's a whole other level of drama that I don't want to deal with. But connections with girls were really hard until I met you guys. And I think some of that was like, at least some of the people I was around, it was a lot of gossip. It was a lot of drama. It was like, ooh, who do we like? And then we broke up with them and going through all of that, and it's exhausting. But yeah, I think jealousy, that's a big one. Kind of like what we talked about. It's like, you seemed really cool and it was kind of intimidating, and it was like, oh, I don't know if we're going to click, or what if I'm not cool enough to like hang around this person? And just being jealous of like what we see on the outside.
No, comparison kills. It literally does. I think we're all insecure because we're all not perfect, and I think, I don't know why it is specifically, I would say with women. I think men do this too, obviously, but at least I've seen it very prevalent in women that we just constantly, when we meet a woman, we are comparing ourselves to them in every which way immediately. Like, how do they look? Who are they as, a wife and a mom, or like their degree, or, that sort of things. Like, what do their career, like their career path, where are they working towards, their house? How do they decorate? Just different things. I think comparison, it keeps us apart rather than, I have a sweet friend, her name's Molly, who does this incredibly. She just always points out what she loves about another person.
So good at that.
She is so good at that.
That intimidates me.
I wish I could do that. Oh, she's the best. She just will walk in, like she walks into my house and she's like, I just love how you decorate. You have the ability to create such a sweet space of community. It's so special. So she doesn't let anything like keep her from just loving people. Or so I've just seen her do it to so many people.
That is the beauty of aides.
Mm.
They're just kind of their own person.
They are.
Like, oh my god. What?
I walked into community group, and it was first time doing the family community group, and she just gave me a hug, and she was like, "It is such a treat to see your beautiful face with this beautiful bob of yours." And I was like, oh. I'm smitten with her sometimes. I'm just like,
We need to get Molly on the podcast.
We do.
Molly's the best.
that'd be great. But yeah, I think not comparing ourselves, and I think that starts with treasuring ourselves and who God made us to be. That's a really hard thing to do. Most days I'm fairly confident about myself, but then like it's easy to point out flaws and be like, when I'm standing alone, I'm fine with myself, but then I'm standing next to someone who I would like to be like, and it's like, oh, I have areas where I could change, or I could change like my hair color, or I could get different clothes to look better, or I think for women too, that's the difference between women and men. I think men more covet like, what job do you have? Like, what are you like as a husband? Or even maybe your personality, like what are you like as a man? Whereas women, it's like, what do we look like? Like, what are our personalities? What do we have a job, or are we a stay-at-home mom or wife? Or, we just compare like all those things. And I think that's kind of why, probably a reason why the Bible tells us so much. Like, it's not about your hair, your clothes, what you own. Like, it's more about your heart. And, because I think when we're just focusing on how we are, like, as a friend, and focus on the heart, we're not really comparing ourselves as much as we would if we're focusing on the silly things, like our hair or our makeup or, anything like that.
No, it's true.
Yeah, I think it's important to, like, remind yourself to put off that falseness. And, like, I think the things that I've experienced in that, like, holding me back is just like, if like jealousy or something comes up, it's the story I tell myself. I'm not enough. I'm not like them. So that holds me back. That discredits me, discounts me. I'm not able to be their friend because I'm not cool enough, or I don't decorate for Christmas or anything like that, and Piper.
Piper.
They are very they are the most festive folk I know. So thought a little tidbit you might want to know about your favorite podcast people. They love the holidays.
I love the holidays. I really do. Well, your Halloween.
Halloween's my jam.
But yeah, so just like not discounting yourself, and like I think Piper and I were talking about like the armor of God, and well, we all were talking about it, and then we were talking about like the belt of truth and like how important that is. I think just like it's a lot of work. Like the friendships are like a lot of like soul work with the Lord, and like becoming, and like all these things. And I don't know, like you can't like half-ass a friendship. Like and like I so have, and like I probably still will because of my social limit. But that's something I'm growing in, and the Lord is changing me. But I'm still changing and becoming, for sure. But yeah.
Yeah, I think, that's honestly all I have to say about that.
Yeah. Well, those are good questions, honestly. I really liked.
Welcome to this hodgepodge episode, just about showing you guys our friendship and what we've learned and what's important, and
doing our best to answer questions.
Yeah.
Hopefully they were cohesive. I'm getting sleepy. I don't know about you guys.
As I say, it's 10 o'clock.
Holy cow! Yeah, I need to drive home.
Yeah, we are sleepy, so we're gonna clock out. But hopefully, this was a blessing to you guys. Thank you for listening. Make sure to go subscribe to our new YouTube channel that we're starting. Follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, and then Apple and Spotify
and
podcasts.
wherever else you listen to podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
But Morgan, thank you so much for joining us the second time. We thank you for your friendship and your insights, and we love you so much.
Oh, I love you guys. Thank you.
Mwah.
See you next time.
See you next time.